I'm here to give you some tips for how Brainscape's best enterprise clients have gotten the most out of Brainscape in their organization over the past decade. Hello, and thank you for your interest in using Brainscape to help your employees learn your training material faster and retain it for longer. Starting with a quick review of what Brainscape is in the first place. Brainscape is the world's most effective web and mobile study platform. Think flashcards on steroids. Whenever you have a ton of knowledge-intensive material that you truly want your employees to internalize, all you've got to do is chop it up into digital flashcards, share a secure link with your team, and boom, everybody is studying on their phone at their own convenience and using a spaced repetition algorithm that is scientifically proven to help double learning speed and retention, all while you can monitor everybody's study progress right there on your educator dashboard. Now, notice that I said studying, which is not a word you hear often enough in corporate training. The thing is that the most successful uses of Brainscape tend to be for material that is so knowledge intensive that employees really need to drill and repeat it on their own over a long period of time if they really want to be able to sell more, perform better, or pass that important certification. So some examples of that knowledge intensive material might be things like sales training, especially product details like in pharma or biotech or complex equipment, faces and names, right? Execs or clients that you want your employees to remember, or foreign language terms, specific vocab that might be related to your industry, regulations and policies, if you want your employees to be able to cite laws or sound smart when talking to their clients. If you're in aviation, maybe knowledge about the hundreds of key parts of every airplane model, or police equipment and scenarios, right? What should your officers do in various situations? Drill. And then all kinds of stuff in hospitality, like restaurant menu items, bartender cocktail recipes, sommelier wine training. All of these subjects require a ton of effort to retain the hundreds or thousands of concepts that they entail. And Brainscape's web and mobile study platform happens to be the best tool to ensure that retention. Now that we got that out of the way, here are a couple of tips if you're thinking about implementing Brainscape at your organization. The first being to set up your sandbox up front. What I mean by that is in Brainscape, each collection of decks is called a class, and it's what you're eventually gonna be inviting your employees to. So it's important that you neatly set up your organized class framework from the beginning, starting with naming your class well. Maybe you call it Sales 101 or New Employee Onboarding or Product Lines. Whatever the main subject material is going to be about tends to be great class name. Then once you've named the class, create an outline of flashcard decks that represent each of the subtopics that you're going to want employees to drill. You can always change these later and move cards around, but it's really helpful to at least start with a good foundation. Finally, you're going to want to add a few flashcards to at least one of the decks with some examples of the types of material that you're going to want your employees to be able to easily review later on their phone. These sample flashcards at first don't have to be perfect, but they're really going to help you with this next step, which is to recruit at least one other subject matter expert at your organization to help you start building out the rest of the content. Share that class that you created with them, give them edit access, and then have them download the Brainscape mobile app to try out the study experience. I can guarantee you that your subject matter expert will find your demo so compelling that they're going to be psyched to work with you and build out the rest of your flashcards using the source material that you probably already have flying around in some kind of a linear format. Videos, PDFs, PowerPoints that were originally designed to be presented from end to end, but that haven't yet been chopped up into those bite-sized flashcards that'll be easy to study using a smart repetition app. So my third tip is to recognize that it's your job to figure out how to extract great flashcards from their original linear training material. Now, maybe it's just you and your subject matter expert sitting there manually typing flashcards for every concept and uploading the images one at a time if they have media. Or maybe you can recruit an intern to take the first stab at chopping up all that source content and popping it into Brainscape. And then you and your subject matter expert will just review the flashcards and edit them later. Maybe you could even use one of Brainscape's AI-based import tools to do a lot of the work automatically. Or even work directly with Brainscape for some white glove flashcard creation assistance. Whatever strategy you use, be sure to think through the extent of all the great memorization-worthy content that you have and the resources that you want to allocate toward Brainscapifying it as efficiently as possible within your target timeline. Which brings me to my next tip: share Brainscape effectively with your employees. Brainscape isn't quite like other training that your people might be used to. You don't just log into Brainscape for an e-learning module and you flip through it for an hour or 3 and then you check the box and you say, I'm done with my training. Brainscape is instead more like a job aid that you keep coming back to and study in small sessions over at least a few days, if not weeks or months, to really internalize a huge amount of knowledge. Just like prepping for an exam at school or learning a foreign language, there are decades of cognitive science research showing that spaced repetition is most effective when the actual study sessions are spaced over time. So however you're sharing Brainscape with your employees, whether it's via a secure link or by uploading a list of email addresses, you're going to want to accompany that sharing messaging with a reminder of how best to use Brainscape, which is as a mobile study tool on their own time. And maybe even promise to follow up by giving them some sort of an assessment on a certain date so that they're motivated to study more deliberately and diligently, which is an important ingredient in helping the material stick. And to make sure that they are indeed studying diligently, you can use my last tip, which is to keep an eye on your learner's dashboard. Brainscape's learner's dashboard shows detailed stats of how many flashcards that each of your employees have studied on how many different days, for how much cumulative time, and what level of confidence they have in each concept. So you can correlate that with actual job performance, double down on the areas where employees seem weakest, and ensure that you're getting the best ROI from our platform. In fact, you'll even have dashboards where you can crowdsource and manage suggested edits to your flashcards from your employees whenever they find errors or concepts that could be clarified, so you're constantly using metrics to make your flashcards and your training better and better over time. The bottom line is that if you care about your bottom line, then you should care about optimizing your employee training with the least investment of their time so that they're spending less time in training and more time doing productive work for your company. All it takes is a little upfront work on your part to set them up for success in Brainscape, and your company will have what it takes to rise to your challenge.